Who or what is Adar? Hey guys, it's Fentony, welcome back to the channel. The major talking point of Amazon's The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, is the identity of its mysterious characters. The Stranger, Halbrand, and Adar, the leader of the Orcs. A brand new character created by Amazon. And fans have so many theories, from the Dark Lord Sauron to Maeglin, the elf who betrayed Gondolin by revealing its location to Morgoth. So yes, let's discuss this, but as always, before we start, if you enjoy what you see here, please consider subscribing and throw a like on the video as well. My episode 5 review will be out shortly after the episode, and once that's done we can talk about episode 6 with a brand new trailer breakdown. But yes, that's in the future. Today, let's talk about Adar, the leader of the Orcs in the Southlands, who worship him as a father-like figure. They refer to him as Lord Father, and it seems like Adar cares for them. He showed a lot of remorse when he had to put that dying orc out of its suffering. And remember, Adar is the Elven word translated as father, something that shocked Arondir. The last thing he expected was an orc leader to be known by an Elven name, or even more so, an actual elf, whose face is scarred, very pale, and wears a very large black gauntlet on one arm. These could be battle wounds, or perhaps scars from his corruption, as my theory is, Adar is one of the very first, if not the first, elf that was taken by Morgoth and corrupted. And Saruman's quote from the Fellowship of the Ring always comes to mind. Do you know how the orcs first came into being? They were elves once, taken by the dark powers, tortured and mutilated, a ruined and terrible form of life. And I think Adar was one of these poor, unfortunate souls, and the scars on his body are a byproduct of Morgoth's experiments. Or perhaps Adar was a victim of Sauron. The elves even speculate that he might be Sauron in disguise, or the orcs worship him as this name, as Sauron has had many names in his long history. But perhaps just like the fans, even the characters in the show can only think about the mystery box of characters, and who is hidden in plain sight. And from his conversation with Arondir, he suggests he lived in the elven land of Beleriand and visited its river in his youth. And some hardcore Tolkien fans even suggest he could be Maeglin, the elf who betrayed the location of the hidden city to Morgoth. And that is an interesting theory when you consider Adar is searching for Theo's hilt that reforges by blood sacrifice. And it seems like this blade was forged by the Dark Lord Morgoth for his most devoted and beautiful servant Sauron, who gave it to the men of the Southlands, as part of their blood oath to the Dark Lord. They gained this amazing power, but at what cost? And when this blade was first revealed in the now infamous headless posters, there were so many theories this blade could be Gurfang. But I feel it's more similar to a Morgul knife. The men of the Southlands performed a blood oath to Morgoth, and I think this hilt was how the ritual was performed. A literal blood sacrifice to the Dark Lord, to give him great power, but forever bind him to the service of evil. And now that Theo has performed this ritual at least twice, it's likely he will go down a dark path now. And this hilt is what Adar wants, and he's bringing his legions of orcs to the Elven Watchtower to reclaim it. He sent Arondir back with a message: surrender or die. Adar wants to claim the Southlands as his own and create a realm for him and his children. And he wishes to become a godlike being. Perhaps this hilt will give him that power he seeks and bend others to his will. But it's likely wielding this blade makes you nothing more than a pawn. Unless, of course, Adar is the Dark Lord himself. And I think each character from the infamous mystery box shares aspects with Sauron and his personality. Adar is the dark orc commander, Halbrand is the deceiver, and the Stranger is the mystical, powerful being. And we all know that Sauron is a shapeshifter and has taken many forms. And we also know in the show that Sauron's mark was part of his plan to take over the Southlands and create a land of evil. Perhaps Sauron is doing this through Adar. Maybe Adar is fulfilling his master's wishes, or has taken matters into his own hands. It's likely Sauron has been in hiding since the fall of Morgoth, and it's likely many of his former servants wish to usurp the Dark Lord. But I do think Sauron will reveal himself by the end of Season 1, either as a Dark Lord or in Region as Anatar, the Lord of Gifts. I do feel that Adar is just the face of evil until the Dark Lord is ready to reveal himself. He's an actual physical antagonist, be that a tragic one, but I think he will likely be killed off in the battle in the Southlands, when Galadriel and the Númenóreans arrive, either by Galadriel's hand or the hand of his master, or even former master he wished to usurp. And I think Adar is a very interesting character, or at least an interesting concept. But there's only so much you can do with him, especially once a darker power makes itself known. And with the forging of the Rings of Power and their distribution amongst the kings of men soon upon us, Sauron will soon have 9 underlings to serve him, who are far more powerful than Adar. And I just don't see Adar playing much of a purpose beyond Season 1. There is no room at Sauron's table, unless of course he becomes a rogue villain and commands orcs on his own, but then I think we're going into too many plot points then. And I think it is doubtful he will be a named Tolkien character. He might go simply as Adar, he might have forgotten his name or no longer uses it, or Amazon might make up another name for him. I think it will be revealed that he was once an elf in Beleriand, and was taken by the Dark Powers, and he will share many characteristics with other known Tolkien characters, such as Maeglin, but it might be nothing more than just a simple nod to fans, an Easter egg, or perhaps a very obvious avoidance of the dreaded Amazon Tolkien estate rights issue. Because remember, Amazon have the rights to The Lord of the Rings and its appendices in the back of Return of the King, and there are a lot of details in there, but without full access to the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, and other stories, they can only do and say so much. It does seem at times they get permission to use material such as the map of Númenor or the name of its capital city, but other aspects seem off limit. I've always felt this holds them back. So in conclusion, I think Adar is a fallen elf, one of the first corrupted by Morgoth. He seeks to claim the hilt, which will allow him to become the king of the Southlands, and create a realm for his orcs. But naturally, this makes him a pawn of Sauron. His true name might never be revealed, or it's a brand new name made up by Amazon. Or if it is a Tolkien character, such as Maeglin, it'll be mentioned once, and they won't go into much detail. Personally, I'm leaning more towards it being a brand new character, with sharing very similar characteristics to Maeglin or other elves of the First Age. But guys, I want you to post your thoughts. I'm sure you expected a much more delicious theory with deep cuts into the lore, and the show does have Easter eggs, but that's about the limit. I think the rights issue holds them back a lot, and I also think Adar's main purpose is to add layers to the orcs' characters, who are not just a mindless horde at this point in time. But I also think he is a Season 1 villain until the real big bad shows his face, or many faces, as Sauron's own identity is a secret, and we all enjoy speculating on the characters' identities in the mystery box, but I also feel that's what Season 1 is all about, and everything else plays second fiddle. Let's just hope all these reveals, the Stranger, Halbrand, and Adar, pay off in the end. Let's hope it's worth it. But yes guys, episode 5 in just a few hours now, so thank you so much for watching, I'll see you soon.